thank goodness for me, Roberta has the honor of being one of the top 10. As Carol said, I started at Woodbridge in 1984 as Jerry's student teacher. And I really was a little bit nervous about coming to Woodbridge. After all, I was a Heights girl and didn't know if I would be able to survive in Woodbridge. Well, Jerry showed me that not only would I be able to survive, but I instantly fell in love with all of the students and the school and most of the faculty. I did have a chance while I was there to visit several classrooms. One of them was Miss Bruno's classroom. And I had heard about this teacher. Everyone wanted to be in Miss Bruno's class. All I knew was that she was a wonderful teacher, but she also wore 3-inch heels every day. 5-inch heels at school. 5-inch. I was amazed at her enthusiasm and patience that she showed for her students, even or especially the ones with special needs. And although this year I had the opportunity to work with Carol, she still has the same patience and enthusiasm for teaching today that she did back in 1984. Her heels aren't quite 3 inches. I think today I saw her wearing slippers. Over the years, I've had the pleasure of working in all 3 schools, from kindergarten this year, and I've also taught 12th grade English. The most challenging, I think, was the year that I taught English 1, 2, and 4, all during the same period. I remember going to Bob Rescione and saying it must have been a mistake, and he assured me that it wasn't. I remember going to Roberta and saying, I cannot teach 3 different grade levels at one time. And of course, she assured me that I would be able to do it. It was the same year that she convinced me that I would be able to write a grant with her to take our high school global studies class to Washington, D.C., which I never thought we'd get the grant, so I went along with her. Boy, was I surprised when I found myself in Washington with her and 12 other high school students that didn't require any sleep. Thanks, Roberta. I'd also like to thank Georgette and Jamie, who convinced me that although I'd never been a cheerleader myself, I could coach high school cheering. After all, Jerry needed an assistant, and they told me that everything I needed to learn, they would teach me at lunchtime. So, I will never forget those lunches. I didn't learn one thing about cheering, but I did learn a lot from them. As Carol mentioned, or she didn't, I recently graduated with my master's degree. It goes back to, I started this endeavor, the reason I'm saying this, in 1988, some 20 years ago. At the time, I was single and attending classes at William Patterson College. And I would often get home from those classes well after 9 o'clock at night, and I'd always find a meal waiting for me at my back porch. That Mickey would always make sure that one of her kids, came over and dropped it off for me, so I'd have something to eat when I got home. It took me 20 years later to be convinced by some of my fellow Doyle colleagues that I could do this again. So in 2009, Bonnie, Antonia, and Kelly convinced me to join them. And I know I wouldn't have been able to do it without you. So thanks. I'd also like to thank all of my colleagues who had children before me. Debbie, Rose, Robin, Janie, Terry. I often went to them and with my own children didn't know what to do. They taught me that it was possible to be a working mom. They held my hands many mornings when I came in upset about one thing or another. Janie was the one who convinced me that it would be okay for Andrew to watch a little bit of Sesame Street in the morning while I blew dryed my hair. I knew I could always count on my friends to help me. This year I've had the pleasure of teaching kindergarten with Debbie and Flo. There really isn't anything like teaching 5-year-olds. Every day is an adventure. I'd like to thank them for welcoming me into their classroom. It was a little rough in the beginning when my OCD took over and I kept moving things and rearranging the furniture. And then my CRS flared up and I couldn't remember where I put everything. Luckily, Flo always came to my rescue and somehow we managed to find everything. Even the one kid that we lost. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my fellow WREA officers, Karen, Debbie, and Laura. Somehow we've managed to get through the last 2 years and even had a little fun along the way. And I'd like to also thank everyone in this room because through your generosity over the last 2 years, we have raised nearly $10,000 for different charities, including the American Cancer Society, March of Dimes, and giving scholarships to our own Woodbridge High School students. And I'm very happy to introduce our new officers tonight. They will be taking over tomorrow. So our new president, Gabe Ben Noon, vice president, Lisa Cornick, our secretary, Bethany Baggett, and our treasurer, April. I wish you lots of luck. You're going to need it. And lastly, but certainly not least, I have 3 men that I would like to thank. Bob Riccione has been my supervisor for the past 26 years. He has always treated his team with the utmost respect, and it has been a pleasure to work with you. And although Tony has only been the principal at Doyle for the last few years, he has been our colleague since the early 90s. I can't imagine what it must be like for these 2 men to have to deal with 30-something women every day complaining about one thing or another. Tony is one of the few people I know that can laugh in the face of adversity. Even while facing his own challenges, he always made us laugh and joke about one thing or another. It is truly a pleasure to work with both of you. And last but certainly not least is my husband, Rich. I am fortunate to have the best husband in the world. Not only is he a great husband, but a wonderful father to our 3 children, and as my sister Linda will tell you, the best brother-in-law in the world. He is my best friend. Love you.